Hello, I'm Alison David. I work at Farshore, children's book publisher, and we're part of HarperCollins. We're passionate about getting children to enjoy reading, and so over the last 10 years or so we've been researching and working with lots of families to find ways to make that happen. We've learned a lot, and I'm going to share what we know. I really hope it's useful to you. So here's a really big question, which is why is it that some children don't read for pleasure? Some say they don't have time for it, or it's too difficult, it's boring, they prefer to do other things, typically digital entertainment like gaming, apps, social media, watching telly. Some say they just don't like it. Often this is because they think of reading more as schoolwork and not as something they choose to do for fun. So what can we do about it? Well, reading aloud to our children is the magic wand that helps them become proficient readers, and crucially it shows them that reading is fun. So it's very common as children get older for parents to reduce the amount of time they spend reading to them, but we do need to maintain it so that reading aloud to our children is part of their life throughout all the primary school years, even beyond. And this works because it ensures reading has time to establish itself as a habit and a real joy in a child's life, alongside the many other forms of entertainment. Very often it's the digital distractions, they're literally at their fingertips, that absorb children's free time, and frankly they're very unlikely to keep a reading habit without our help and encouragement. So if we step back from reading as our children move up the school years, we almost invite them to stop. If you're thinking, oh, my child's not really interested in reading and I stopped reading to them a while ago, well, you're not alone, and there's absolutely nothing to stop you resuming reading to your child. If you're thinking, my child enjoys reading independently and this isn't really relevant to me, can I suggest that you seriously consider resuming reading to them alongside their independent reading? I'm saying this because we have a crystal ball of sorts. It is a fact that children's reading reduces as they grow up. At 8, 9, 10 years old, only around a third of children read to themselves every day just for the fun of it. And by 11 to 13 years old, this has reduced a lot to only 19% of boys and 28% of girls. And by 14 to 17, only 15% choose to read to themselves regularly. I can't count how many parents have said to me, my son, my daughter used to love reading, what went wrong? And this is why I say, even if your child enjoys reading independently now, set in place a routine where, in addition, you read to them, sharing some special time every day. And this should ensure that their interest doesn't wane. You could think of it as future-proofing your child's reading, I think. So, why is reading aloud to them so effective? Well, it's because children love having your time and your attention, and research tells us that what children want above all else is more time with their mum and dad. So reading to them gives them the intimacy, the attention, the time that they love, and it makes reading a huge treat. You might also be thinking, well, if I read to my son or my daughter, they'll be lazy and they won't read themselves. And we've found the opposite to this happens, that children become enthused and keen to read themselves as well. So here's an example. With 8 to 13-year-olds, we know that when parents read to them less than weekly, only a fifth of those children read every day themselves. But when their parents read to them every day or nearly every day, we find 2/3 of them also read daily for pleasure themselves. Children benefit from being read to well into their teens. And you might be thinking, well, this is all very well and good, but how do I actually go about this when my child's older? So there's some ideas for you here. Some children will be happy to be read to snuggled up in bed with you, but some, especially as they get older, might prefer to be elsewhere. So you could sit on the sofa and still be close, or snuggle up in an armchair. It doesn't have to be bedtime. Choose make it every day if you can, and find a place that you both like and a way to be together that you both feel happy with. What you read aloud should be the choice of your child, and you'll find as they get older, they're often very keen on having something read to them that makes them feel more grown up, perhaps a bit ahead of their own reading ability. We really are never too old to be read to. I actually worked with a dad and his daughter who was 17, and he wanted to encourage her to read more. So they agreed that he would read aloud to her every Saturday afternoon. They made a little joke of it and they arranged to meet in the armchair in the sitting room. And he read to her and she loved it, and so did he. And they did this for several months, and it actually spurred her on and she started reading independently again. So I really hope my message is clear. Read to your child throughout their childhood, even when they're an independent reader. Try to keep that sort of special family time with books together, and this way you're future-proofing their reading for pleasure. And keep it going for as long as you can, basically until they tell you that they just don't need it or want it anymore. I know that we're all very busy and finding time's often difficult. Maybe this feels like a big ask, but I can promise you there's a lot in it for parents too. So having that special time and being close together brings so much joy. It does become a treat for parents and for children alike. Truly, I think, the best part of the day. So thanks very much for listening, and I hope that was useful to you.